work-wise the same, but for you this is work, and for me it's a game. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. Next round starting, believe that I'm playing. Introduction's not needed, been completed so to speak, since I always act familiar each and every time we meet. We're not colleagues, you've never even heard of me, but I'm just so polite and you're returning every courtesy. We're a perfect team, racking up a perfect score. Always have my hands full, you always hold the door. Gather info, you wouldn't take control at first. Shoulder surf your photo search so I can find your older work. Article or small talk, conversation, banter. Really, I'm just probing while I'm listening for answers.
Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number 41. And we're missing Dave, so there's no...
There will be no echo.
There'll be no echo, no rhetoric.
No Bruce Hornsby.
No Bruce Hornsby, amazing as it seems.
No bad behavior.
And no bad behavior. Well, we do have Jordan, but he's usually well behaved. Usually.
Very well behaved.
Although there was a time that him and Dave were yelling Ron Paul 2012 like for an hour straight, so... But, besides that, I think maybe we can blame that on Dave. He's not here. So how are things going with folks? Ping, what's going on? What's new in your life?
Things are going really, really well. I'm glad the equinox is over and the days are getting longer.
And we didn't end.
Go ahead.
The Earth didn't end.
The Earth did not end, but perhaps what it is maybe the guy who was scribing the calendar just got tired and just wanted to stop.
Good
and
point.
Since he ended on the equinox, maybe he was just like, well, now the shorter days will end and now the days will be longer.
I'm not sure if I'm falling for that, but yeah, okay. We'll go with that. He just got tired. I'm happy it didn't end.
Yeah, it wouldn't have really affected me either way, I have to argue.
No, I think it would have affected you. You're on the West Coast. Like, your property would have been beachfront
for very long and had time to worry about it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right, every day is going to be different, right? And tomorrow you might go to sleep tonight and just not wake up. So does the world ended for you anyway?
Welcome to the depressing.org podcast. Number 1. We'll be talking to you today about the end of your life.
Mass Armageddon.
Epic.
Over at Black Hat, since I'm still in the content review board, we're feverishly reviewing the content for Black Hat Europe, which takes place the first week of March. And there is a rate change coming up. So anyone who wants to be in Amsterdam and hang out, go and register yourself on the blackhat.com website, because Amsterdam's a really fun city, and that show's really cool because it's a small enough show where everyone can hang out together. But the city's an awesome place to hang out in.
What do you usually get there as far as attendance?
About 500 people.
Oh, yeah, that is nice. That is a nice size.
Yeah, between 350 and 500 people, depending on what day they're coming in. Training's less than briefings. But it's a nice, manageable size. And the hotel that we're at is the Grand Hotel Krasnopolski, which is right in the middle of the city. So it's right across from Dam Square. It's right in the middle of all the shopping and the eating. And everyone loves it. I've never had people come to that event and say, oh, my God, the location sucked and the venue sucked. Everyone just really loves how central it is. And the people who come are very smart. I mean, most of them are European and been coming for many, many years. So it's kind of like big family reunion.
That's cool. Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
Never been to Amsterdam, actually.
People probably smoke lots of pot and go to the briefings and zone out.
Just to be a little bit more well-behaved. Although I can tell you the first couple of years that we did the show there, because everything was still smoking everywhere, they would actually light up and smoke in the rooms. And
that's a little crappy.
Yeah, and that's like unheard of here in the States, so it's just considered a really bad form. But when I was growing up, and maybe this is telling of my age, you'd go to Kmart or a department store and people would be smoking. My dad would smoke in the department store and the grocery store when he had...
Oh, that's so gnarly.
I know. Now it's like you give people evil glares when you see them smoking on the sidewalk outside.
You drive by their house and they're smoking and you're like throwing stones through the window.
I can't believe that people like smoke in, like libraries and stuff. It's so insane.
I was on a plane recently that had ashtrays in the seats.
Well, that's pretty normal, actually.
I mean, that's crazy, though, thinking that people would smoke on a stinking airplane, like a closed environment at 30,000 feet. and you're gonna light up, and then
I remember people smoking on airplanes when I was
Yeah.
a kid and being like, "It smells in here, Dad." My dad was like, "Well, we're in the non-smoking section," which was like up front or whatever.
In
You know, and I
between
was like,
business class where they can smoke and the back of the plane where they can smoke.
because the
right, and I
smoke
was
just
like,
stopped,
this
right?
is insanity. I mean, yeah, all smoking sections were back then were maybe the person right next to you is not smoking, maybe.
Right. And actually, up until about 5 years ago, I had friends who had traveled from the UK and they were like, oh, and I was like, how are you going to deal with the long flight to Vegas or, Bay Area? And they're like, oh, well, I'm on a smoking flight. And I was just aghast. Because here in the
smoking
States,
flight.
we're already like, oh, there's no smoking in the restaurants. You have to be 25 feet away from the door. And even Vegas has banned smoking, other than the casino floors. Most
Really?
of the other common areas, such as inside the mall at Caesars, the Forum shops,
Oh, yeah.
where we hold the event, it's supposed to be non-smoking. They have to have ashtrays because, of course, it's a common area where people might stop off because they like, oops, I thought this was the casino, and they don't want people littering cigarette butts everywhere. But it's becoming pretty much like it's like, I think they're even trying to make it so the casinos are non-smoking. Of course, that'll never fly, right? Because people like to smoke their cigars, the high rollers.
Yeah, and also like the point of that place is you're screwing up. Like that's the whole point of Vegas is you're not behaving yourself, you're screwing up. Like I don't smoke, but if I'm in Vegas like getting hammered at 2 p.m., like I'll probably smoke too. 'Cause what's the difference? You know what I mean?
You're losing all your money and you're getting drunk, and you might as well give yourself lung cancer.
Yeah, like what's the diff, yo? What's the diff?
That's a great philosophy for life. I don't know what happened to this podcast. Maybe we need Dave.
Derailed. You're welcome.
Yeah, it wasn't you. Actually, it was Ping talking about Amsterdam, and then we got into smoking.
So,
All right, I'm sorry, Jordan. What's new on your plate? What's happening over at the AOC?
oh man, we've got boot camps that are sold out. There's a guy in here from Japan. There's a guy in here from Denmark. A guy in here from Germany. Guys here from all over the U.S. right now in the classroom, which is like right next to where I'm at, which is kind of interesting. And we've just sold out a bunch. We're adding a bunch of new dates to the calendar, and it's cool. I just released a podcast for our feed with a CIA operative, a former CIA operative, who hit me up out of the blue to tell me that she heard my talk that I gave at DerbyCon and was like, I bet this guy's a former CIA agent because he knows all this CIA stuff that we do at the farm for like elicitation and getting rapport with people. And I was like, nope, just stuff we teach here at the Art of Charm. And she was like, I don't know if I believe you. So she wanted a phone call. And I was like, well, okay, but you get to come on my show too because this is cool and I want to help you out. So I thought that was really cool. So
Wait.
the latest podcast is a spy.
Was she an active CIA agent? Like she's active with the CIA and she could actually go on your podcast?
Was active. She's retired now.
Oh, okay. All right. I was about to say, yeah, wow, because normally they don't let people who are active get on any kind of public forums. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, she just retired. So she retired, had a kid, and is like, I want to help out your business and, maybe work with you guys. And I was like, well, we don't hire spies. Just kidding. No, I was like, well, you live too far away. So we got to talking, and I was like, my audience would definitely be down to hear about the ins and outs of being in the CIA. And you know what the funniest part is? I was like, how did you get the job? And she's like, no one believes me. And I'm like, well, yeah, a lot of people in our audience are going to want to know, you probably have to network and like all this stuff to get the job at the CIA. And she goes, actually, we recently changed our policies. Turns out the best way to apply for a job at the CIA, can you guys guess?
Hang on. Let me actually think about that.
The best way to apply
It's probably to just walk in and put an application on.
Basically, the best way to apply for the CIA is to go on their website and submit an application that way.
I was about to say, do they actually have an online app? You know what? Let's get some of our hacker friends to bring that site down.
That's epic, actually.
I mean, really, I'm pretty sure we can find a vulnerability in it.
I'm sure that's not going to have any consequences legally for the people involved.
Please accept my PDF.
Yeah, the best way to apply for a job as a freaking spy is to go on the website and apply. Ridiculous.
So, we've covered smoking, how to become a spy.
Kind of maybe they're looking for a certain level of aptitude.
Maybe. What the truth was, though, is they used to hire like all their friends and family members to join the agency because it was like trust thing. And then I guess they realized that they need to like get more street talent in there, and so Congress mandated that they get more street talent. So they started recruiting more, but it was really tough. So they made the application available online, which is so funny. Because I'm just like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, you just sign up online and then they're like, yeah, come in for an interview. So hopefully that interview will help them recruit some talent. But it is a little disappointing that you can learn all this awesome stuff. And then like, of course, once you get there, you'll have a better aptitude for it if you've, gone through the Art of Charm or something like that. But you probably apply online and then you end up as an analyst or something. And it's the guys who have really good people skills and the stuff that we talked about on the show that we teach at the Art of Charm. But those are the guys that get accepted into like the clandestine service.
Would you apply now?
No, I got yes. Doing what? I mean, as much as I'd love to make like whatever $55,000 a year or whatever those.
So is it money that's keeping you from joining? If money was not was not the issue, would you do it?
No, I mean, I feel like it's the kind of thing where I'd obviously be naturally decent at some of their core level skill sets, but I also think that with my luck, I'd probably end up getting transferred to like Antarctica to keep an eye on some like,
Penguin Depot.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't mind that.
I'm sure it's not as sexy as it is in the movies.
We talked about that, and she's like, yeah, no one has like shootouts and.
Yeah, you're not like jumping off of buildings and like, hitting people 30 times and beating up whole rooms full of Russian spies while getting shot at with a cannon or something, you're...
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit, and she's like, I was like, what are some CIA concepts that like commonly get, what do you call it? Like
misconstrued? Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, we don't have all this badass like martial arts gun training and stuff.
Excellent. So we went from no, it's okay. We went from smoking to CIA agents to Jordan becoming a penguin agent in the Antarctic. I just talked to a woman the other day who went to the Antarctic for a vacation. If you could believe this, from my area.
I would go, hey, you know what? Charles Vanderwalt from Sense Post, who's one of my closest friends, just did a desert marathon there, 4 weeks on the ice running.
Those are two things I would not want to combine, desert and marathon.
Yeah. That's like, I just want to die. I hate my life. I'm going to go to a desert and run.
Well,
in the middle of Antarctica.
The desert happens to be like below freezing every day, too. Like, this is like the obscene, like, it's so cold, it's hot. Like it's burning you.
Yeah, that's no fun. Yeah, she went to that like South American city that is like the farthest point in
El Fuego.
Yeah, and then she took a boat that takes 2 days, and it has to be a small boat because you can't go through that channel with a big boat, and it's like the roughest waters on Earth. And then they get to Antarctica, and you can get off, and you can go and explore for a few hours at a time. But you got to always come back and stay on the boat because there's like no facilities to stay there or anything. She loved it, but I'm like, holy mackerel, sounds like. It sounds like pretty awesome to do it, but yikes! She said you got to go like for this 3 month window in the summer when it's actually decent and you're not worried about dying. It's still cold, still like. 30 and below every day.
I would do it. And honestly, Jeff Moss, who founded Black Hat and DEF CON, his sister is a marine biologist, and we call her the Laura Croft of the Antarctic because she's been there like 8 times on research. And all these crazy stories of like lost in the snowstorm. They hit a piece of ice on the Zodiac and the engine went flying up through the air and they caught the line. And luckily it didn't crash through the Zodiac. But it went into the water and it was like frozen into a block in like the minute it took for them to pull it up, and just crazy stories. It's like the ultimate survival, honestly. So I have to give all those penguins a lot of credit.
Yeah, seriously. That is just ridiculous. Well, we've covered all the topics here. How about, actually...
pretty much crushed everything on the agenda.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Yeah, see ya. That's the end of the podcast. Forever.
What's going on with you, Chris?
Oh, me, man. I got tons of stuff going on, actually. I am busy as heck, which is awesome. Business is growing. I got 2 courses coming up. I got one in Ireland on April 8th through 12th, and then one in Detroit, out of all places, June 3 through 7. And I hope to be invited back to Black Hat. We shall see in the summer. I put my little papers in with the new ping, not ping, but the new ping, at Black Hat, and we'll see. Hopefully, if I get accepted there, then I'll be out there in July. Besides that,
we'll see if you get accepted.
yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure. You're probably on the board now, Jordan. And
I mean, I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
That would be awkward, but I'm actually the one doing the selection.
Yeah,
I'm super impressed with your proposal.
Thanks.
Or whatever you call it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you had a few double spaces in between periods, and the next
Yeah.
one.
That drives me.
Oh, don't even start with me. What are you, Jim Jr.? Oh.
I like bullets, but you use dashes, so I was kind of like meh and crumpled it up and threw it away.
You guys are ridiculous. Actually, that's kind of funny. You might even be right about that. I'm not sure about the dashes. And I know you're right about the double spacing. That's for sure. I do that all the time. But
I think it looks weird if there's not 2 spaces after.
Thank you. Exactly what I say.
It looks weird.
I will tell you that when you do a page layout, though, in design, it creates what we call weird rivers and spaces.
Wait,
so when it's called a river. If you look at a page that has all these weird spaces, like the double space, it's too wide for the actual width of the font and the height of the font. There's this whole thing in typography, and it creates a river. So when you guys do that, like when I was at Black Hat, and then now
you just see the blank spaces flowing down the page.
Yes, we call those a river. So we go in and we take all those out.
Okay, I can get that, but I'm talking
weird.
Yeah. And another topic that's nothing to do with anything. Also, my social engineering mastermind group that we started 2 months ago is kicking off and going quite awesome. I'm actually, I'm really happy about that. I didn't know how it was going to go, and we've had 3 of them so far, and they've all been pretty epic. And a lot of good feedback from people on that. So,
so are you recording these so that other people can access it, or your guys can review them and listen to them again? Because I think part of the value might be if you recorded them and new people who join in can go back and listen to archives.
Oh, I feel smart now because I did something ahead of time before Ping told me. So not only do we record the calls for the members who are paying, of course they can't go public, but I have a girl I hired to transcribe them. So not only do they get the audio recording, but they get the transcription of each call. On the members only site after the call is over, about 2 days it takes, and then we get the transcription and the audio up there.
I think an iota of my brilliance is starting to rub off on you.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree. I talk to Michelle about that all the time. All your smackings have done something. I'm actually maybe going to be worth something in the future. So that is going awesome. And I said, it's funny. My wife is Asian. You're Asian. Michelle is Asian.
That is hilarious.
That's not the funny part. The funny part is this. And all 3 of them, all 3 of those women
I was actually saying, Jordan, how is that funny?
Yeah, they all take great pleasure in smacking
all your friends
me.
are Asian.
No, they all take great pleasure in smacking me around and telling me all the things I do wrong. So
Stupid white man.
Actually, none of them sound like that, but that's interesting, though. Thank you.
What's that? They don't sound like that?
None of them sound like that. None of the 3 women I just mentioned sound like that.
Oh.
Has Ping ever sounded like that?
No, our English is too perfect.
Yes. Yeah. She doesn't sound like an
They
old.
sound like that.
Anyhow, great. Dave was not here, so Jordan is filling in, being the mini.
You don't even know what I got on deck, man.
Okay, well, we'll do it after Christine is gone. So let's talk about our guest. Our guest. I'm actually excited about this guest. Our previous conversations fit this topic of this guest because it will seem at first to not match anything to do with social engineering, as did our previous 20 minutes of conversation. So, obviously, many people know from the book and other things that I mentioned that I love. I used to cook all the time. Used to be a chef. Love being in the kitchen, so when I do watch a little bit of TV, I usually get involved in things that Gordon Ramsay does, and I was watching the show last year called Master Chef. It's like where they take people that have cooking skills, but they're not chefs. They're like home chefs, amateurs, and they let them compete. They give them a little bit of training. They let them compete. And then they win money and a cookbook and all this stuff. It's interesting, relatively. I know it sounds boring and lame, right, Jordan?
Well, yeah, because that's something chefs don't have is a cookbook.
Yeah, that's not true. They get their own. I mean, they get to write their own.
Right.
That's
it's
totally
more
different.
of that's part of the prize, right? It's
Yeah,
the visibility and marketing of them coming out. If they guess,
they don't get a cookbook.
I actually watched a few episodes, and it's got a lot of intensity to it.
It does, and they got these 3 master chefs and Joe and Graham Elliott and Gordon Ramsay, and these guys. Actually, it's really a good show, and. This year,
Ramsay seems so mean sometimes.
He does in some of it.
I also feel like we'd get along because I'm not exactly super nice myself.
I actually met a woman a month ago that was on one of his shows, and I asked her, I said, so is he really as bad as he seems? And she said, no, he's actually really a gentleman. He just plays that way on TV. But she says if you're stupid, he will definitely not be afraid to tell you.
Yeah. I like that though. I appreciate that about people. When
me
like,
too.
Dude, you're blowing it and you know it. You're just half-assing it.
And
it's good. It's good for you.
So this woman comes on the show. Her name is Christine Ha as a competitor, and she is blind, completely blind. And at first, when she came out, they have this first round. We got to come out and you got to cook something in like 60 minutes. And then the judges taste it. And if they like it, you get to the next round. And, you get to deeper and deeper in the game. And when she first said she was blind, they all kind of like scoffed, like, what is she going to be able to do? How can you cook when you're blind? You can't cut stuff. And she created like a masterpiece. And they were all shocked. So, of course, she got in, and through her talents, which is amazing to me, she won the show. She won season 3 of MasterChef, and she's completely blind. And she did some amazing things, and she has a really interesting story. So we're going to get her on, let her tell her story, talk to her about how she was able to accomplish all this, reframe herself to become an actual winner despite all these obstacles she has. So let's see let's get her on now.
It's a good time for a little Bruce Hornsby, I think, probably.
Oh, no. No, I thought we were free of Dave.
There we go.
All right, Jordan, did you coordinate with Dave because he couldn't make it? And he's like, okay, here's my Bruce Hornsby track.
No, but it was the first result for Bruce Hornsby in YouTube.
There goes the sirens by your house.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot that other people can hear that. I live in the hood. Not really. I live in the busiest block in Hollywood, or in LA, which is Hollywood, which people think, are we still recording? Because I want the world to know. Hollywood is ghetto.
So you want that on the podcast?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Hollywood is ghetto.
So Hollywood is ghetto where every house costs like $500,000 or more.
What's that?
Hollywood is like an expensive ghetto.
Yeah.
It's a trashed out tourist area.
It is. And so it's like Times Square, except for Times Square now has a cop on every corner. In Hollywood, I've had times where like someone is like harassing and following me here. Not me, but like I'll be with like girls and stuff, I feel like if it was just me alone, somebody would get their ass handed to them. But if it's like, me and a group of friends or like, I've been with a group of females and this weird dude is following us, and I'm talking to cops, the only cops we saw for a friggin' mile, they were like, I'm busy. And I was like, dude, this guy is following and harassing us. And he's like, I'm busy. And I was like, are you kidding me?
To serve and protect, of course.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and carry something that may or may not be somewhat legal in the state of California.
You mean
to make sure that people realize they can't harass and follow me around?
Marijuana?
What's that?
Is that what you carry? Marijuana? They go to mug him and he
when
just
someone
hands
follows
them.
me, I'm like, yo, dude, if you leave me alone, I'll give you pot.
Yeah. You never know. That may work better than a knife or a gun.
And then I'll give you a sharp object in your wazoo.
Hey, why would you stab someone in the wazoo?
What's that?
Why would you stab someone in the wazoo?
In the butt. Right in the butt.
Yeah, but why would you stab them there?
They can't chase you if you stab them in the butt.
Okay.
Try running with a knife in your butt.
Well, is my okay? I'm gonna tie her in via phone. So we have our guest with us today, Christine Ha. Thanks for joining us, Christine.
You're welcome.
Did I say your last name right, by the way?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure I wasn't mispronouncing.
Thank you.
So we were just talking about you a little bit before we got you on the show. Really fascinated with your story, especially I'm sure everyone is similar when they're talking to you about the Master Chef show, and really seeing you there, you became like an inspiration to a lot of people. But maybe some of our listeners don't know your story, so if you could tell us when did you become blind? Was this something you were born with, or how did this come about?
No, I wasn't born with visual impairment. I actually was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called neuromyelitis optica, or NMO, and it's a demyelinating condition that affects the myelin sheath around the nervous system. So all of your nerve cells are surrounded by this sheet, and basically my immune system attacks it thinking it's a foreign object. And so it's similar to multiple sclerosis, but it's quite a different disease now that they've been able to do more research on it. And I was diagnosed with that in my 20s, and over time it just affected both my spinal cord and my optic nerves. But fortunately, I've been able to recover more from the spinal cord inflammation, more so than the optic nerve inflammation. So over time, my optic nerves sort of atrophied, and that's what caused my vision impairment. So I would say that I gradually lost my vision throughout my 20s, and I am 33 now. So it's been something that I've been sort of getting used to and adjusting for a while. So that's probably what gave me the courage to go on a show like MasterChef.
Wow, but still, I mean, most of your life was spent with sight. So it must have. Were you a chef before this disease affected you?
Actually, I was just sort of coming into my own in the kitchen when I started losing my vision. So I was not really cooking throughout my childhood. I started learning to cook once I went off to college because I had to as a means of survival. So I picked up a cookbook from a secondhand bookstore and just started learning the very basics of cooking and about ingredients. And this was in my undergraduate college, and it was around that time that I had my first optic nerve inflammation, my first optic neuritis, and throughout my 20s, I started really enjoying cooking more and more, and I started really trying to learn everything I could about it. And at that same time was when I was also battling with the diagnosis and the vision loss and all other sorts of health issues. So I would say it was kind of coinciding at the same time that the more I started really enjoying cooking was when the more I started losing my vision. So it sort of happened in a very strange way.
Can you see anything like colors and light, or are you completely like dark?
It is not completely dark. I do see some light. I can contrast dark colors from light colors, but I can't necessarily tell what shade the color is. So it's easiest for me to see things when obviously it's something dark on a light surface or vice versa. But when things are similar in shade, it's very difficult for me to distinguish between two objects or even tell what shade that is. And everything is just very blurry, and I would just describe it as mostly shadows is what I see.
So what kind of amazes me, we started to think about this, is for our, in our group, our podcast, what we do is we're all security professionals. So it sounds like such an odd topic to be talking to someone who's a chef, but your story is fascinating because a lot of times when we talk about security and the human aspect and the way people are influenced or the way they think, there's a topic called framing, which is how people perceive the world around them and how that gets altered. And someone who's been through such horrible circumstances may usually what you find to be the case sometimes is they may not reach out to become a role model or someone with all this. Was there some way that you just sat down one day and decided, despite all of the obstacles I've been through, that I'm gonna go on a cooking show?
I can't say that it's a one day that I just sat down and decided that. I know it was something. It's probably just a series of events and just a string of days and years that just happened. One thing connects to another, and I really think that in my life, with my mom passing away when I was young, I think that was something that I had to deal with. That was a huge trial, as a teenager, and growing older, I tried to make sense of that situation and wonder, like, why did this happen, when it happened, and you ponder those sorts of questions a lot, and I sort of just over time, I don't know if it's my personality or what, but I just kind of thought to myself that you can either make something the best that you can out of the situation, or you can just wallow in self-pity forever and not really get anywhere. And so I'm sure that's part of my personality, is just the tenacity to try to keep going regardless of whatever happens. So I think that sort of prepared me for later in life when I was diagnosed with NMO and when I started losing my vision. And I think I just had that sort of itch inside myself to want to prove something to myself that I can tell myself and the world that's, hey, no matter what happens, you can make the best of the situation. But that's not to say that these things aren't easy to deal with. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to be self-pitying once in a while, because you have to sort of deal with that. It's normal and it's very natural and it's human to sort of grieve these sorts of losses in your life. So I don't think that that's anything wrong with that, but at some point you have to kind of get over it and then move on, because I don't think the world stops for any one individual. So I think that's just my mindset, and I guess that's how I came to where I am today, to inspire people to know that they have it within themselves to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve if they really put their minds to it.
But it seems like there's so many things that you could have done, like a motivational speaker or other things that wouldn't have challenged you to such an extreme. I mean, I'm not a chef, but I used to enjoy cooking. I used to do it for work, and I know you're dealing with knives and you're dealing with different, ingredients. And there's one show I saw you recreate a dish that Graham Elliott made, that sashimi dish, and
yes.
You made it better than everyone who has sight. So, how do you get to that point, where you say, I'm not going to just try anything, I'm going to try the hardest thing I can try? Maybe if you were a tightrope walker, that would have been a little more difficult, but how do you go to that level?
I think it's sort of funny. I don't know. I think sometimes I feel like I must be some sort of a masochist, because I like to put myself through these challenges that just seem impossible. I think that as I've grown older and dealing with the vision loss and other challenges, I feel like I've just been really more and more wanting to push myself to the limit to see how far I can really go. And I do find myself living more extremely now that I don't have vision than before. I was much more of a careful person before, whereas now I think I just feel like I should just try everything and see, at most I'll fail. And then if, I want to, I'll try again. And if I fail again, then maybe it wasn't meant to be. But I think it's just something that I just really want to challenge myself with. And cooking just sort of came naturally to me because, like I said, it was something I enjoyed doing even before I started losing my vision. And so it wasn't something I was really ready to give up in spite of vision loss. And so cooking is just something I really wanted to find a way to adapt to and to continue to do it. So, yes, it's a challenge, but it's something that I love to do. So I think when it comes to something you're really passionate about, there's kind of no question to it and no doubt that you would continue it regardless of what happens and what obstacles stand in your way.
You said something interesting, though. So you, which may be a key to your ability to reframe yourself. You don't view failure as the end all. So you just said that if you fail once, okay, you get up and you try again. If you fail twice, maybe it's not meant to be. It's not the end of your existence, or it doesn't define you as a person. So is your view of failure, you think, your ability to handle that and just use it as a learning lesson, you think a key factor in how you were able to get past all these obstacles?
Yes, I most definitely agree with that. I think everyone in this world, and I think it's human nature to fear failure and disappointment. That's very natural. But I think failure is just a way for you to find a different way of doing something. I guess the best way to explain it is, everyone's not always going to succeed the first time they try something. If you want something bad enough, you're going to keep trying regardless of failure. But at some point, if you keep failing, you sort of have to sit back and assess the situation and think maybe this wasn't meant for you, or this situation wasn't meant to be. So that's just, I think, a way of the world telling you that maybe this path is not the path that you should take. And it could be a closed door, but that just means a different door opens. And I with full faith agree that I think that's how the universe works. And so I don't think failure does, it does disappoint, but you have to just really have that tenacity and that perseverance, I think. And that's how I think I've been able to achieve things in life. Like I'm in a grad school program that I love, but I didn't get in it the first time I applied. I had to apply again after being rejected the first time. And I think those sorts of things will happen to all of us. And I think it's that idea of sort of learning to embrace failure and realizing that it's just a lesson and a sort of a stepping stone to helping you figure out how you can adapt or do it differently to try to achieve the same end goal. I think that's what's important.
Amazing.
Now, my question is more, I guess, in the practical sense. I'm so curious. They say when you're blind or, your other senses become sharper and more keen. Did you notice that process happening, or has that happened, and to what degree?
It's not something that I think I deliberately noticed. And when people say your senses must have heightened, I sort of, it's sort of to me a misnomer, because I don't necessarily think I hear better or I smell better, but I think what happens is because I lost my sense of vision, I'm much more in tune with the other senses because I have less senses to depend upon. So I think I'm more keen and more aware of what I hear and what I smell. So it's not that. So I guess in that way, it is that my other senses are better. I don't necessarily think they're heightened. I think I'm just much more aware of those other senses. So I do think that I'll pick up on smells or sounds or certain taste that people with vision don't pick up, only because I'm much more in tune with that. But I don't think it was something that I really noticed happening, but I guess just living life with sighted people around me, I will hear things or smell things that they don't pick up on. And so I think over time I did notice that I've become much more aware of my other senses and what's going on around me in spite of vision.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that I've done a lot of brain research as well. And I know that in people, at least people who are born without sight, there are areas where the brain that would normally help with vision and translating electrical signals into images actually start taking over and translating vibrations into sound. So they literally have heightened sound. I'd be curious to see, I don't know, let us know if you ever participate in a brain study, but I guess they'd have to do that to see if it was really doing that as well, if that transferred later on. And I understand, being more aware of one sense versus another. I too have a really good sense of smell, probably not like yours, but it comes in really handy on the subway, especially.
So I'm curious, Christine, because Jordan's question is interesting. And back to that dish that you recreated from Graham, just the fact that you got not only the quantities and the ingredients 100%, but it was the visual aspect of the dish. That was, when they put them side by side in the show, and you saw Graham's and yours, they were almost identical. How did you do that? How did you actually do that? That doesn't make sense to me.
Before we were allowed to recreate the dish, the judges did call us up there, and we were allowed to. Everyone was allowed to view the plate, taste the dish. So they had a separate one for me, because everyone can use their eyes to see it. They had a separate dish replicated for me to feel. So I had another dish that they let me put my hands upon, so I could figure out. I would ask what color things were, so I could figure out, the that the fruit on the sashimi was passion fruit, because I asked, what color is this? And then I felt the consistency of it. I could feel the seeds inside it. And I basically had to, I had to just put my hands over the whole dish and then commit it to memory. So I think for visually impaired people, I think our memories are really strong because we have to remember everything. That's how we stay organized. That's how we have our homes just in order and know where we put everything, because our memories have been exercised so well just to get by in everyday life. So I think my memory is very strong. And it's funny because even before I lost my vision, I think I had pretty good memory, because all of my friends tell me that I have elephant memory. But I just had to feel the dish, remember where everything was on the plate, counted everything, felt the thickness of the sashimi cuts, where everything was, and that's just how I executed. It was just following that memory I had committed to my brain.
That's really, really cool. That's interesting you say that, because I watched the last episode where they declared you the winner and you made that braised pork belly. And I remember the judges making the comment, and I'm sure you didn't hear it until you got to see the episode or however they let you preview it, but how they said, oh, well, she's braising it so that looks matter less. The presentation matters less. And I think that's really interesting compared to, I didn't catch the sashimi episode that Chris is referring to, but I think that's really, really interesting. And I actually wanted to know if that even came into consideration for you, because it sounds to me that you always make a very good presentation and the dishes that you put in front of them looked awesome. But, do you consciously think to yourself, I still have to make it beautiful, or is it so ingrained in you now because you've been blind for a few years, and you still are actually translating your touch and feel and senses into a visual representation, which I think is amazing. I can't even imagine how you do it. Did you take that into consideration when you were making that dish at all?
I actually didn't. I do, presentation and plating on the show was my forte, and everyone was surprised about that. But I think that came with the help of the fact that I used to be able to see. So I can remember how things look, the contrast of colors, and that's how I'll remember that, I like to plate on white. I remember the colors of foods, and that's how I'll plate. But for that particular dish, I picked braising something because I knew that I know my limits, and I know that with 2 hours to cook 3 courses, I knew that I had to simplify it as much as possible. So braising something is simpler because the meat will taste good, but you can get it into the pressure cooker and leave it alone for a while you're doing other things, and you don't have to tend to it. So my strategy was in simplifying the process of creating the dishes. So braising is, I think, a natural strategy to pick, because you don't have to tend to it so carefully, and you know that the meat will taste good coming out of the pressure cooker. So no, I didn't really think about that, doing braising for presentation's sake, but I did it for just strategy and taste sake, and that was why I chose to braise pork belly.
I think you make it sound like it should make sense, but I can touch a plate of sashimi all day long, and I'm not going to be able to go and cut it and create it in the way that you did. There's something different. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. I watched every episode, and I just was constantly amazed. I think at one point, I don't know if they told you this, but you brought Gordon Ramsay almost to tears. When he.
I've heard that, and I really wish I could see that, because I still don't believe it to this day. But everyone was like, "You don't understand his face."
Yeah. I mean, really, because he did. I honestly swore I was going to see him cry on public television. And I was like, yes, finally. But you reduced that man, which is like one of the hardest people you can, at least the public perception, one of the hardest people. You reduced him down to just not having words. I'm curious on another aspect when it comes also to your personality, which is, so it's a competition, obviously, and people were there and they were making decisions competitively. And even at one point, I think his name was Josh, he gave you like a live crab to work with. And
that was Ryan.
Ryan, okay. And, and yes, these people, they constantly were doing things that seemed to be undercutting in a way that, well, if I give Christine this, she'll fail, and then she could be out, because you were very strict competition. And despite all of that, that crab was, woof, that was just terrible. But you never lost your, like even in that one show when everybody was down and out, and that one woman was crying, and you were comforting people the whole time. Your positivity outshined everyone else's negativity and competitive spirit. Is that something else that you just consciously do, or is that just part of your makeup?
I don't know. I mean, I do think that it is a reality show, and I know that there's editing that goes into the production of it, but I myself felt like my character was held pretty true to reality. I would say, the only thing that they cut out a lot was my dry sense of humor, and I cursed a lot more on the show than they let on. But everything else was fairly true. I mean, I am positive. I don't like talking badly about people. And honestly, I don't feel like I would be in the right place to talk about how poorly other people are doing, because I can't see what they're doing. So I have no idea like how their knife skills are. I don't know what they're doing at their station. So when I'm asked, like, don't you think this person should be out of the competition, I honestly can only say that I don't know, because I'm not tasting their dishes. I don't know how they're cooking. I don't see how they hold their knives, what they're doing, or what techniques they have. So I think, and that's just the truth. I can't really say that I'm better than other people. And also, I think just to stay positive, I think that's just something I've learned in life with everything I've been through. There's really no point in being negative or putting other people down. I think that to be in true spirit of competition, the best person should win, not because other people have failed and have performed on an off day, but just because that person is the best at what they're doing. So I think everyone should be at the top of their game for it to be a true competition, for the winner to come out as a winner. Does that sort of make sense what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. I'm seeing now that it must be something that either you were taught or you grew up, which is also amazing considering that you lost your mother as a teenager. It was probably such impressionable years to not only have that major loss, but then to have your physical sight loss. Like the fact that you came out as a person who values their moral integrity as well as positivity just kind of blows me away. I wish there was an equation. I wish you actually had something to say like, yeah, well, I wake up in the morning and I do this and this and this, and then I become this person. But there's like no equation. It's just you. It's who you are, it seems.
It's funny. I wish it could be an equation, because I think there would probably be a lot more people in this world with more integrity, but it's really not. I think it's just how you view life, and that does have something to do with how your parents bring you up, the environment you grow up in, and also your personality and the sort of life trials you go through. And I honestly think the more trials you go through in life, it makes your character, and you can either take that and run with it and make it into something positive, or it can be something negative and eat you up inside. And I'm sure I've been in that position before, but I don't think life is as enjoyable when you are always negative. So that's really why I try to stay positive about everything.
So I won't ask you about Ryan then, but how did you feel when you got that crab? It was really a low blow to give the only person without sight the crab to work with.
It's funny because if you watch that episode, when Cindy, my aide, tells me that I got a live crab, the first thing I said was I knew it, because I knew that he would give me a live crab. But I don't think that it's something that I necessarily took as a low blow. And I know Ryan got a lot of flack from the public and from my fans for it. But in all honesty, to me, I think it was almost sort of something that I felt was a compliment, because I felt like he figured I was true competition. And so it is a competition, and you're out there fighting for your lives to win that title. So I think the decision he made was a smart one. It was a right one. I honestly think if I were in his position, I would do the same thing, because if I were to take somebody else as serious competition, I would try to give them anything that will make them fumble. And in my case, he knows that I have a vision impairment and working with a live crab would be more difficult. So that's what he gave me. So to me, I think he gave it to me because he wanted me out of the competition. He didn't do it out of personal spite at all. So for me, I didn't have a problem with it. And when I got it, I was just like, okay, well, I knew he would give this to me. So what can I do with it to make the most out of this live crab? And so that's exactly what I did.
I tell you, everything you said before, 100% true. When you said that in a real competition, the best person should win, I feel that's the case here. You really, I was kind of, like I said, hoping for an equation that we can analyze and look at, but it's just amazing. Really, I find you an inspiration, Christine, I'm really appreciative of your time and that I had a chance to meet you, even if it's here over the internet. I know we all feel that way.
When can we come over for dinner? Is the next question.
You need to get in line for that.
So do you have plans to open up a restaurant at all, or?
Yeah, or the cookbook.
I would love. The cookbook, actually, I'm wrapping up the first draft of it. It's going through copy editing right now and testing, and I'm supposed to be flying out next week to do the photo shoot for it. And the cookbook will be released in May, so that's exciting. As far as opening an establishment of my own, I would love to do that. I'm in the process of putting together a business plan and getting help putting that together. But that's a lot of research involved and a huge commitment. And I completely understand that just because I can cook in a home kitchen and I know flavors and I know dishes does not mean I can run a restaurant, because that's a completely different beast. So I'm also in the process of looking to find possible partners or investors or people that actually know the restaurant industry so I could partner up with them and make a successful establishment, because I would love to go in and design a menu and have like the vision of a place, but I know that day to day it's really not likely that I want to be in a kitchen cooking 16 hours a day in the back. So that's in the works, but there's a lot of exciting things happening, and so on top of that, I'm still trying to finish school. Before I went on the show, I was and still am in grad school getting my master's in creative writing, and so right now I'm still planning on graduating this coming May. I've been having to put off school for all of this MasterChef hoopla, but I'm currently writing my memoir as well, and so hopefully after that. After I graduate with it, I'll be able to find a publishing house for it and get my memoir published too, because I know there's huge public interest in my life outside of the kitchen as well. So it's all great, and there's been a lot of opportunity, so it's been very exciting.
It sounds it. A lot of our followers, they love to, to come and try to find you or find a guest that come on here. So if someone wanted to follow you, do you have like a website or a Twitter account that you want to give us?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that. So I have a blog. It's the URL is theblindcook.com, and that blog is what started it all, because it was a blog that my husband created for me, because I wanted a space where I could write without any sort of, just abandoning the fact that being in a creative writing program, I usually pour over every word, every sentence, and I wanted a space where I could just write freely. And so that he created that blog for me where I could write about things that affect me daily, which are, it's food and cooking and my vision impairment. And that's actually, how the casting department of the show found me, and they read my blog and they're like, oh, that's interesting. Let's see if she can really cook or if it's all fake. So they invited me to an audition, and one thing led to another, and the rest is history. But I do try to update my blog regularly. It's been more difficult with all of the things going on, but theblindcook.com is where people can find me. They can reach me through there. I also have the Twitter account at The Blind Cook. And I have the Facebook fan page that the MasterChef people created for me, and that's facebook.com/MC3Christine. And that is also has a Twitter handle at MC3Christine. So those are probably the best places to find me at.
That's phenomenal. I'm sure we'll be seeing your book being promoted out there. We'll be happy to help promote it. I'll be buying it for sure.
Great.
I'm very interested in seeing it. This has really been a pleasure and an honor to have you on here. I really appreciate it. Sharing your story with us. It's something a little different than we've normally done on our podcast, but I think I was talking to you before, and after just, I think, the third episode, I was sitting there with my wife and I said, I got to get this woman on the podcast. And she's like, what does that have to do with social engineering? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. But it doesn't matter because she's just inspirational. So I appreciate you seeing the weird request and the weird URL and not running the other way. The last thing I'd like to say is just, I'm sure this is true, but your husband seems like such an amazing guy. Just from the little bit on the show that they showed to him and the things you've said about him, he seems like such a supportive, amazing guy. So it must be a part of the equation, too, that you just have this family that really has been your uplift in this difficult things that you have to go through.
Oh, I completely agree. I think it's important whenever you feel down and out about life that you really surround yourself with people who are truly caring. You really need to have a good community around you. And I honestly think that everything I have been through, I've only made it through it because I've had strong friends and family around me that help lift me up when I feel down. And that's, relationships are what is most important to me in life, I believe. And I think that's why I chose to become a writer and chose to become a cook. That's my way of connecting with other people and sharing myself with other people. So I think those are ways to foster relationships because I think that really is the foundation of life.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christine.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Christine. I don't know about you guys, but she's dang amazing.
Yeah, and actually, I think it has a lot to do with human interactions as well.
It does.
I mean, and it kind of breaks that whole cycle of, oh my gosh, she looks so normal. What could possibly be wrong with her? Because I'm sure when people look at her, they're like, oh, she looks totally normal. Look, she cooks totally well. Yeah. And then they figure out she's blind and they're like, wow.
Yeah. So. I find her truly inspirational. Truly inspirational, her story and hearing what she's been through in her whole life, just kind of amazing. And then just her outlook. I kind of was hoping there, I'm happy to see that it's just her personality, but I was kind of hoping that there was some equation, that she went through these horrible things and one day she sat up and said, I'm just going to be ABC and here's the way I'm going to do it, and that it was some way to dissect that because, man, imagine if you can, for lack of better terms, bottle that, teach people how to do that. That would you can go through anything and be able to become an amazing individual like her, just because of reframing yourself. Truly amazing. Yeah,
that's true. But isn't that what Jordan does at AOC? It's a lot of reframing.
Yeah, there's a lot of reframing. It's not the only thing. I mean, we do a lot of practical drill and exercise, but yeah, we definitely spend plenty of time reframing negative beliefs.
And that's interesting to me. Too, then, in a different aspect, right? So, I mean, you have a specific purpose with your reframing, but it is a powerful tool if you think about it, because we grow up believing things, right? I mean, maybe even in my world, I grew up with the thought that if atrocities like this happen, you crawl up on a ball and feel sorry for yourself. Mm-hmm. And her world, that's not the truth. So that's, there was no frame for her like that. It was just her upbringing, her parents, her loved ones, her family, that when bad things happen, you have the right to feel sorry for yourself, but that doesn't define you. You now get up and you continue moving. I found it fascinating, her view of failure. Failure wasn't a defining moment for her in a negative way. It was a defining moment in, here's what I'm meant to do, or here's what I can learn from that failure.
I mean, it's got to be tough especially when you're looking at like a massive disadvantage like being blind.
Yeah. Crazy. But truly phenomenal. Really, I was deeply, deeply happy to have her on the podcast. Really amazing. One of our shorter ones too, but I think that was probably one of the more powerful ones, even for being shorter. Yeah, so interesting. More on framing, I guess. We'll have to do some research, write some articles, and of course, Ping gave you a free advertisement there for your course.
Well, you must cover some reframing in your 4-day course.
Oh, we do.
Right?
But I guess my thinking on what I cover in framing is for a very specific purpose. It's when we talk about framing, we actually have a half a day we spend on framing, and when we talk about it, we always define it in how you reframe other people. So someone has a frame, their job, they're a security guard, and their frame is, I'm a security guard. I don't let anyone through here that doesn't belong. So how do you reframe that person to look past that you obviously don't belong there and get past him? And we talk about things like that. So it's a very specific way in framing, a very specific purpose for it that doesn't necessarily apply to tomorrow you wake up and you're blind. Now, use these same skills to teach yourself that it's okay and you can still be a winner, Just a crazy application to it, I guess.
I think it's amazing that you take two of the hardest things I can think of to do when blind, besides like race car driver
right.
or some sort of athlete, is writer and chef.
Right. and not just a chef, but like I'm going to go on national TV chef.
Right. Yeah, showbiz also. Right, exactly.
And it's not like she had a prep cook or a sous chef that helped her make the presentation where she just cooked it or directed people. She made it all herself and put it on the dish herself and then even brought it to the table herself.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's that one episode where she had to reproduce this dish, and it was chosen because President Obama ate it, and it was a very delicate and very precise dish, and the flavors are perfectly balanced, and you don't get told anything. You don't get told anything that's in the dish, none of the ingredients. You have to look at it and taste it, and from that, in 5 minutes of looking at it and tasting it, you're supposed to then go recreate it. So she gets to taste it, but then she gets to feel it, not look at it. And from there, literally in that show, she was the only one who recreated the dish exactly, visually and flavor-wise, how Graham Elliott did it. Just blew my, Yeah, that was the show, and I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, I'm getting her on. That's amazing. That's ridiculous.
I'm going to have to go watch all the episodes. I watched like the first one, and then I watched a random one in the middle, and then I watched the last one. So because I was just curious, I was like, holy crap, well, obviously she won. But now I'm really inspired to like watch all of them.
Yeah.
Because normally that sort of TV I'm not interested in because it's just so much drama, and a lot of it's contrived based on how they edit.
I agree.
But it seems very, very genuine. Like she is who she was on the show.
Yeah, and that's what I was also the other part of that interested me is, and of course, like she even said it, it's reality TV, so they edit a lot of things. You just said it, but it seemed like their competitive spirit that everyone else had, as in when I win a challenge, I get to choose who does what next. And they always tried to give Christine like a live crab or cutting raw fish or things that were so difficult that normally a blind person would fail at. But when she won, instead of thinking of who's going to fail at this, it's like, oh, I know that they like pork. Oh, they like fish. And she would her idea of what to do when she won was different. She always gave herself the leg up, but she didn't look at it as I'm going to go and screw this guy over and give him the hardest thing on earth. It just was her whole attitude about it was always so positive. It was really ridiculous in a good way.
Yeah, and she just stayed very goal-oriented, like, well, this is the challenge, and this is, she ignored all of the weird social dynamics that were happening, right, and all the drama that other people were causing, and just went on and said, okay, well, I got the live crab, so this is what I got to do with it, instead of, wow, this live crab, and I know a good number of people, probably myself included, would have been focused on why the heck did I get the live crab?
Yep.
Of course they would have done this to me. WTF.
Yep.
Instead of spending her energy in a very negative way, she just went back and said, okay, live crab, what can I do with this?
Yeah.
Well, obviously I still got to take care of it and make it unlive.
Yeah. And that was the first thing she had to do. And that, even Gordon Ramsay, he was looking at it and he's like, man, I cannot believe that guy gave her a live crab. And she went to go grab it and it snapped at her. And of course they played that drama up a little bit, but then she did exactly what you just said. Okay, sit down. She took a minute away from the table and said, "What am I going to do? What am I going to make? Let's figure this out." And then she came back like 100 miles an hour and won that task because it was just mind blowing.
But I do have to give Ryan credit for actually, as I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's so mean, etc. But honestly, if she was a sighted person, if she didn't have what we know is what we consider a disability, it would have been like, wow, what a good strategy. Yeah, give somebody a live crab. And it wouldn't matter too.
Yep.
Right. So I have to give him credit for, I think I didn't particularly care for him because he always seemed very self-aggrandizing.
Yeah.
But he had a strategy, which was, and this is a show where it's a competition and there is money and prizes to be won.
Yeah, it is. That's actually a good point, because he probably had the guts to go do something that not many other people would have done just because of the way it looks. Give the blind chick the live animal that bites. I mean, it's probably something that no matter how competitive you are, you just may not give that to Christine. And he did.
Well, I think would it have been any different if it had been a live eel and it was give it to a girl who might be squeamish about the slimy snake-like thing.
I don't know. I guess, and this is an interesting analysis just for myself. When I was watching the show, there was like 4 or 5
There's
other
a joke in there somewhere, by the way, but I'll be good. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chris should continue on. You interrupted Chris. Yeah. You can tell us your joke if you want to be Dave.
It's PG.
Thank you.
The podcast.
Thank you. But thank you for pointing out that you have an R-rated joke that you're now not going to tell. Thank you. Just as bad as telling the joke.
No, but this is like the silhouette love scene where that makes it PG-13 instead of R. That's what it is. It's the allusion to a joke. I'm alluding to it.
And the very fact that we're talking about how much we're alluding to it, every 13-year-old is going to be like, what are they alluding to?
Yeah. And now when my people that love my podcast because they listen to it with their families are driving down the road and the little girl goes, what's the joke about the eel? And then their daddy's going to have to be like, I don't know. I'm never listening to Social Engineer podcast again. Thanks, Jordan.
No one's letting their kids listen to this garbage.
What? I can't believe you just called my podcast
no one's kids
garbage.
Are sitting through this show.
I can't.
Come on.
You just called my podcast garbage. That really hurts.
No, it's not that. It's just for kids. This
Do you
like
have
the boring world.
Any demographics on anybody under the age of, say, 16 listening?
I not demographics, but I have been told, and this is no joke, by multiple people, that the reason they love our podcast is because they can listen to it with their kids. And I do know at least, and this is not demographic by any means because it's only a handful, but I do know at least 4 or 5 kids under the age of 15 that regularly listen to the podcast that are not my own kids.
Okay, well, I was just thinking, listening to it while you're driving down the road, while your kids are playing on their own little DVD thing with their own headsets in the car is different than actually they are aware that everyone's actually actively listening. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because people play it, right, while they're driving their kids to soccer, and their kids are doing something else.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was told by one guy...
Okay, guys, fine. The eel joke was about a penis.
Oh, seriously.
All right, penis is anatomically correct. Let's leave it.
It doesn't matter if it's anatomically correct. I don't want to talk about it. I had a really great... Oh, man. My point is completely gone. Completely gone. Thank you very much, Jordan.
No problem.
Obviously, we were boring you because we didn't talk about anatomy at all in the last 30 minutes, so...
What do you mean by anatomy?
Fingers and toes. Well, that killed the mood.
We need to wrap it up. We
Yeah.
can always cut out everything that's in between.
That's okay. No, we can wrap it up. So, anyhow, another great podcast. I am going to cherish this one for a long time. I'm really glad that we got her on the show because at first, when I first emailed her, of course, it comes from social-engineer.org. The whole concept, I had to go to her agency that was for the show, for MasterChef, and they were really confused at first. Like, what the heck does this have to do with computer security at all? She's been all over the radio, flying around the world, getting interviewed. So the fact that she came on our tiny little crappy podcast, as Jordan puts it,
Sorry.
No problem.
Didn't mean it like that.
It's okay. I'm going to go cry now. Usually it's Ping that rips my heart out, but she's been very pleasant.
Well, he's being so negative. Jordan, did you get up on the wrong side of the bed today? Because you're being really negative. Usually you are the positive light, and I'm just like the hammer that crushes.
Yeah.
And you're being so negative today.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, is it because David's not here?
Probably.
Man, I didn't think you really had that much of a bromance with Dave.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay, man. It's okay. You know, that's okay.
Why do you always just say it's okay, Chris? You never address it.
You know, I'm...
Here we go.
No, I try to avoid confrontation until it cannot be avoided. Which I'm working on my D-ness, because my previous... My D-ness, yes.
This is a PG podcast.
My D-ness. I'm working on it. D. Because in my previous personality...
You mean your devious personality?
My D personality, which is very strong, I thrive on arguments and proving everyone wrong, and I'm trying to work on myself to be a different person. I'm trying to reframe myself. That's what I'm trying to do. Being able to be humble enough to take counsel and correction and improve who I am. And maybe it will work someday. Who knows?
Is that your New Year's resolution every year?
No. Actually, this is I don't make New Year's resolutions, but this is the first year that I started actually, tell you the truth, I started after Robin, doing a couple courses with Robin, and I just started to see the difference in the way people are with him. He's non-abrasive, and I'm like, yeah, I like that. I like that fact. You know, you can get your point across. You can actually even prove people wrong at times if you need to, but you do it in a way that makes everyone leaving feeling better for having met you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna start applying that philosophy everywhere, not just in my social engineering gigs. When I'm in the mode in SE, I can become anyone, and it's like a different person. And then when I'm just me, it's, you know, rough and gruff boy. So I'm trying. Not saying I'm gonna be perfect at it all the time, but I'm trying.
Well, I just never I've known you for 5-6 years now, and I just never consider you to be a confrontational person.
Well, yeah, Maddie, you know, when I worked with Maddie and those guys over there, I mean, Maddie, the Offset crew was very non-confrontational. So when, you know, knowing you and Black Hat and stuff, it was always like, you just never fight, you never argue, you never... But to me, the confrontational part of me is probably when someone would want to argue or say that something I know to be right is wrong. That's where my confrontational side comes out. That irritates me. But I'm working on that. You know. But, yeah.
You just need to learn how to be a little bit more ninja and just, you know, slide the knife in between the ribs without them knowing it, versus the infantryman, you know, blunt force trauma.
Yeah,
I work on that myself as well.
You know, if you knew me when I was well younger, like in my teen years, I was a totally different person. I was actually quite violent. So, this is a like I said, not a New Year's resolution for this year. This has been a 15-year process of reframing. So I'm trying to continually improve. We'll see how that works, I guess. So actually, it's kind of nice to hear that someone does not view me as confrontational. Thank you, Ping.
You're welcome. What about you, Jordan? I don't believe in New Year's resolutions either, but you must have some goals for this year, this month, this week.
I don't have resolutions. I don't rock that. I make changes when changes need to be made. But
oh man,
I'm not drinking this month, except at one pre-planned occasion, which is my friend's wedding coming up later on the 20th in Vegas. And I'm also doing something physical every day. So like running, CrossFit, yoga, massage, whatever, mostly CrossFit and running. I'm also not smoking anything. Not that I smoked like pot or anything before, but no hookah, no like any like, you know, those electronic things. None of that crap. Because at the end of the day, it's just still like, I don't want those neural pathways in my brain. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, did you actually smoke anything? I mean, other than like occasional recreational use, did you actually smoke cigarettes, tobacco?
if I'm like super hammered, I'd be like, where's cigarettes? And I would like smoke one, and then the next day I'm like, I hate myself.
Wow.
So
I just can't see you smoking. I really can't.
nobody can. Yeah, nobody can because it's retarded.
Yeah, well, it doesn't fit anything I know about you. You just don't look like a guy who would actually smoke. You take such good care of yourself. You know, Mr. Work out,
Is
eat
a closet
healthy.
smoker.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. You know, people who usually take really, really good care of themselves don't usually smoke.
Right. Well, yeah.
It's when he's lost his mind is what he's saying. Like when he's super drunk and like going crazy in Vegas.
So
He's lost his mind.
So you think this month binge of not drinking is going to help you cure your desire to not smoke?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even been hard. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I want something. And no energy drinks either.
Wow. I mean, you're not talking no booze, no energy drinks.
Those will really hurt you. Those, if you have way too much caffeine, like the stuff that they have in energy drinks can really mess with your insides, especially like your prostate. For you men, it can really mess with you.
Wow.
Yeah, because I went to 23andme.com and got my genes tested. Have any of you guys done that?
No.
No.
So it's $100, and you can have your genes tested, and it's pretty awesome. And I'm at like super low, below average risk for everything, including like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which is great news because that stuff scares the you-know-what out of me. Super low risk for everything, and I'm also, the only things that I'm higher risk for are like some skin condition that I don't have, so I won't get. But like, if I like marry someone that has equally high risk, like our kid might have it or whatever, psoriasis, right? And then the other thing was slightly above average in risk for prostate cancer. So I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to stuff that like messes with that. And we are sponsored by Monster, and so we have like cases and cases and cases of it. And I used to just wake up in the morning and be like, I'm kind of thirsty, I'm going to have some water. And then like 2 hours later, I'd be like, oh, there's soft drinks in the corner that are free. And I would drink like 2 of those every day.
Yeah, and I know guys are pounding down 6 packs of those. And when we had the Black Hat office, it was definitely the most drank thing next to coffee. They grab a coffee in the morning, come in, and then the rest of the day they're having energy drinks. And I just know some guys who've gotten basically inflammation of their prostate because they drank so much of it.
That crap is poison, period.
I like the occasional one, but I don't drink energy drinks too much.
Good thing, because they can eat out your insides too. Like if you ever they can corrode through the aluminum. Yeah,
I was actually addicted to Monster for a long time. Like I just had it every day, cases of it in the refrigerator, drinking it all day long, and I just had to get off it. It was like it was like making me angry when I would come down off the stuff.
Yeah, you crash.
And then you get all pissy and everything irritated you. And I was like, my wife's like, okay, you're done with this crap. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gents, we have covered topics that I never thought we would cover on this podcast. And we had a great guest. We even had Bruce Hornsby without Dave. Yeah. Wow, that sounded really bad.
It's loud.
Yeah, that sounded really bad. But anyhow.
It's Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah, that always sounds bad. That's true. But at least we have the memory of Dave while he's not here. But you could check us out on IRC if you want, on the irc.freenode.net network, on channel Social-Engineer. On Twitter, we're Human Hacker. Also, our corporate Twitter is SOC Engineer Inc. You can check us out there. Feel free also to go to our website, social-engineer.org and social-engineer.com. And I guess we'll talk to you guys next month. See ya.
I got somewhere else to be. Because I'm confident. Like I'm in a hurry. Like I've got work to do. Like I'm going places. Welcome one and all to this fun competition. Except nobody knows if there's any opposition. Face so friendly, smile disarms. Everything's good, no cause for alarm. Cause I'm like you, and likewise the same. But for you this is work, and for me it's a game. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. Next round starting, believe that I'm no signal. No, my battery is finished. Hey, could I go and use your phone for a minute? Thanks, yo, I had to make a call to play it down while my rootkit exfilled your data to the cloud. Plan to stall, stand appalled, gotta take my time scanning all your systems, the ones you didn't wipe. Scamming y'all, I got terabytes of drives. Cannonball in the dumpster when I dive. Black and white, all the info with the details, and what type of person really prints out emails. Still intact, all the sentences and questions. I mean, paper shredders really aren't that expensive. Yep, we want it all, the kit and caboodle. It's not that impressive, I just know how to Google. Found the CEO with the social network name, sir. Nope, it's dual core, we're just leveraging the framework. Welcome one and all to this fun competition, except nobody knows if there's any opposition. Face so friendly, smile disarms, everything's good, no cause for alarm. Cause I'm like you, and likewise the same. But for you this is work, and for me it's a game. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. Next round starting, believe that I'm playing. Welcome one and all to this fun competition, except nobody knows if there's any opposition. Face so friendly, smile disarms, everything's good, no cause for alarm. Cause I'm like you, and likewise the same. But for you this is work, and for me it's a game. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying. Welcome one and all to this fun competition, except nobody knows if there's any opposition. Face so friendly, smile disarms, everything's good, no cause for alarm. Cause I'm like you, and likewise the same. But for you this is work, and for me it's a game. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying. Next round starting, believe that I'm playing. Know what I'm saying. Know what I'm saying. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm saying.